Hello and welcome to another video here at AV Forums. This time we're taking you through our recommended picture settings for the Philips 55POS901 Ultra HD 4K OLED TV. Now, we calibrated this TV using our normal calibration equipment, which is the Klein K10A color meter, the Meridio Fresco 6G pattern generator, and Cowman calibration software. And the settings I'm about to show you are based on the TV that we reviewed. Now, I can't guarantee these settings will be applicable to your TV because they were just for the TV that we calibrated and reviewed. However, feel free to give them a try and see what you think. So, with that caveat out of the way, let's go into the settings menu and then all settings and over to picture style. Now, we're going to show you a number of different settings. So we'll start with ISF night. Now, ISF night is a setting that's designed for watching TV at night in a darkened room or a room with minimal ambient light. So you don't want it too bright because that can be uncomfortable to watch. So this is nighttime setting, and the color you can leave at 50. Contrast, which is actually the backlight control, set that to 29. That will be bright enough for watching TV at night in a darkened room. Sharpness 0, brightness 50, and over in the advanced settings, leave computer off. Under colour, now colour temperature you could use warm, which is the out of the box setting that's closest to the industry standards. However, it actually had a bit too much red and a bit too much green and not enough blue, which gave the whites a slight yellow tinge. So we're going to use the custom setting and then calibrate it using this custom colour temperature control, and basically leave red at 127, leave green at, bring green down to 115, blue down to 86, and then red at +4. Green at -4 and blue at 1. And we found that doing that gave us a nice even grayscale with equal amounts of red, green and blue. Once we'd done that, the colour performance was very good. Actually, we also had to do nothing to the colour. All we needed to do was basically just set yellow hue to +3. Otherwise, the colour performance was excellent. And then we've got contrast. Contrast mode, leave that at best picture. HDR upscaling is basically a fake HDR mode, just leave that off. Perfect contrast, leave that off. Video contrast is what most other manufacturers would just call contrast. Set that to 90, that's the point at which the image isn't clipping. Light sensor off and gamma at +2. And then in sharpness, ultra resolution off, noise reduction off, and MPEG artifact reduction off. And then in motion, now we've left perfect natural motion off specifically for film content. However, feel free to experiment with it when you're watching sports. But certainly for any film-based content, movies or TV dramas, always recommend leaving that off. And clear motion you can also just leave off. Okay, so that's our nighttime setting. Now we'll go into picture style and do the daytime setting. As you can see, it's a bit brighter. Color is still at 50 though. Contrast now, backlight level is at 50. Sharpness still 0. Brightness still 50, and under advanced, computer off. Under color, we're still using the custom setting, this time slightly different. So red 127, green 116, blue 82, and red still 4, green still -4, and blue still 1. Again, that gave us a really accurate grayscale and a very accurate color performance. So again, all we need to do is go to hue, and there we set yellow to +2. And then under contrast, again, best picture, off, 90 again, light sensor off, and gamma now is 0, and that gave us a gamma of 2.2. And then sharpness, ultra resolution off, noise reduction off, and MPEG artifact reduction off. And under motion, again, we've left perfect natural motion off for film-based content, and perfect clear motion off as well. So that's our daytime setting. Now we'll have a look at a game setting. And here, color again at 50, contrast 50, same as the daytime setting. Sharpness 0, brightness 50. Under advanced, computer off. We've only got two options here. We've basically color enhancement off. Color temperature, we've used warm because there is no option for custom. And contrast, best picture again, HDR upscaling off, perfect contrast off. Video contrast again 90, light sensor off, and gamma we're using 0. sharpness, ultra resolution off, noise reduction off, MPEG artifact reduction off. And under motion, actually you don't get an option to select perfect natural motion or perfect clear motion. I guess the idea being with a game mode, obviously you want to eliminate as much processing as possible in order to keep the input lag down. Okay, so those are our standard dynamic range SDR settings for day, night and game. We're now going to switch over to an HDR feed and we'll show you an HDR setting and also a gain setting for HDR gaming. Okay, we're now sending an HDR signal, so if we go back into the menu system, all settings, what you'll see now under picture style is, you can see HDR is the option for everything, HDR movie, HDR game, etc. Now you could use ISF day or night for these HDR settings, although we actually found that HDR movie gave us a bit more brightness, a bit more peak brightness in terms of specular highlights, so we actually found that was quite an effective setting, so we actually ended up using HDR movie as our default HDR mode. Now color again 50, HDR contrast this time at 100, sharpness still 0, brightness still 50, go into the advanced settings, computer still off. Color, now you've only got, again a bit like the game mode, we've only got the option of using the warm color temperature, there's no custom option, but we used warm and that was fine. And then contrast mode, best picture, obviously no HDR upscaling because we're in HDR mode, perfect contrast off, HDR video contrast again 100, light sensor off and gamma 0. And then sharpness, ultra resolution off, noise reduction off and MPEG artifact reduction off. And with motion again, film-based content, and when you're watching HDR at the moment, at least predominantly that's going to be film-based, leave it off. And same for perfect clear motion. And that's an HDR setting. Now, good news here for any HDR gamers is you also have a dedicated HDR game mode. So if we go into that, and then back. Color again 50, HDR contrast 100, sharpness 0, brightness 50, advanced color off, computer off, color temperature again, we're using warm, contrast mode best picture, perfect contrast off, HDR video contrast 100, light sensor off and gamma 0, sharpness, ultra resolution off, noise reduction off and MPEG artifact reduction off. And finally with motion isn't an option because again it's the game mode that's trying to keep the input lag as low as possible. So there you have it, that's day, night and game modes for SDR content and an HDR mode and an HDR game mode for HDR content. So that's our settings for the Philips 55POS901 OLED TV. Thanks for watching.